All right, so highlights of the interview with Matt Villers with Nagura. And this guy is the lead encounter designer for WoW. Let's see, Mythic Plus design philosophy. One of the things that they're designing for now is planning ahead for longer bosses. An example of this is having the containers on High Educator Elise respawn. Wait, this is a recent interview, right? Oh, I posted this 7 hours ago. Also designing for player choice. What are ways that players can make decisions about route and express mastery? They've heard a lot of feedback on RP. Things like the Ring of Booty and Freehold they left in as there's some strategic decisions that can be made, but remove some from the start of Tazavesh. The Halls of Valor ones are classic and they couldn't bear to do it. Really? That's the reason why you don't want to remove the RP from Halls of Valor, because it's classic? Because it's like lore based? Because it's like, oh, it's Odin. Oh my god. What? That is so dumb. That is so dumb. Yeah, I don't get that. Like, so you what you're doing is you're taking away the ability for people to time keys, +2 keys, +3 keys, because y'all have a nostalgic feeling about an old dungeon in a competitive environment. Makes no sense. That's why you leave it on normal and heroic, and you don't do that for a competitive thing like Mythic Plus. Randomness in Mythic Plus, they aim to make things not completely random, like Fenrir always being on one side in Halls of Valor. Thundering seasonal affix. Overall, happy with Thundering overall. Come on, man. Stop it. The goal was an affix isn't completely taking over the dungeon and isn't the primary focus. Lighter, but still flavorful. Oh, okay. For the future, they're still thinking about seasonal affixes, and there's lots of ways they can go. They might try something completely new. They might not do a seasonal affix at all. They're still discussing. I mean, yeah, if their goal is to just have a seasonal affix where it's your choice to use it or not, use it if you want to. It's no big deal if you do. It's whatever if you don't. But I still think the whole, like, people wiping the stuns and all that other shit is still... It should just be the opposite. I never understood why they just... The easy fix to make Thundering awesome is just Thundering happens, you clear your Thundering, then you get the buff, then you're done. I mean, people are already insta-clearing anyway. Make it a minor curse and a huge kiss. Let's see. They're watching the feedback on tanks with Thundering. The hope is that with the amount of time you have, you can find downtime in between frontals or other mechanics to make that clear happen. And they're open to potential adjustments, but they've also noticed that players are getting better at Thundering, so they don't want to react just yet. Yeah, but the average casual player has no idea if a tank is getting a frontal until they die to it, so whatever. Gotta have a downside. Well, yeah, the downside is if you don't clear your Thundering, then you get stunned, and you take massive damage. That's why you clear it quickly and then do some DPS. Affixes. They have discussions on affixes a lot. How do they keep dungeons feeling fresh? And one of the ways is by changing affix layout. There's concerns that with fewer affixes, or if only one bucket was changing, it wouldn't feel as fresh, but they're open to experimentation. They've done some updates to affixes with some changes in Shadowlands with a focus on finding places where classes can shine, such as making bursting dispellable. Affixes that are working well could even take a vacation, and they could try a brand new experiment. We're waiting, you know. Hell, we're waiting. Bosses tend to be the most intense challenges that they provide, and adding more affixes on them can be super dangerous. I mean, look, man, I ain't gonna lie. I'm never scared of bosses in Mythic Plus dungeons. Ever. It's the trash that I'm always afraid of. I'm afraid of tanking 6 mobs, of which of the 6 mobs, 5 are all casting a different ability. Out of those 5, 3 can one-shot me. The other 2 will still hurt me and AoE the rest of my group. That's what I'm scared of. I'm not scared of a single boss with affixes. It's a nice way to vary up boss gameplay, though, and they try that in Fated Raids. They want to keep exploring that space, and Thundering is the first affix that you have to deal with alongside the boss, and watching that play out and how players deal with it is giving them info on how they deal with it for the future affixes that may interact with bosses. Well, we didn't even have seasonal affixes in Legion, and everyone was okay with that, right? Pumpkin Time, thank you for the sub, man. Appreciate it. Class balance. In general, they want players to be able to play what they want to play. Okay. There's a gear and skill component, but all specs should have the potential to do a Mythic plus 20. To clear Mythic raid, and they're watching to make sure that is the case. But they also want to make sure that there's ways that classes can shine outside of just DPS, HPS, such as Mass Grip on the intermission on Balakar Khan. LOL, yeah, dude, LOL, okay. God damn it. Oh, A big problem that they face is perception. Every class right now is able to do a Mythic plus 20. There are leaderboards, high-end players, streamers who are very good at this game and will seek any advantage they can to be competitive. People watch that and see it as a path to success, and that perception can trickle down. Don't blame us, bro. Don't blame us for your class balance. Don't look at us like we're the evil ones here. Like, oh, we're influencing people to play all the meta shit. So, you know, but every class could do a plus 20, no problem. Well, obviously, Raider IO says different, right? When there is obviously a huge disparity in the survivability between several tanks, and also the DPS and HPS of some healers and DPS. I mean, it's not like, it's not like the information is not there for us to look at. It's right there on Raider IO. Everyone can see it. Yeah, I don't believe that entire paragraph at all. I mean, yes, can every class in the game do a Mythic plus 20? Absolutely. Every class and spec in the game can do everything in the game, right? But obviously, you know, the whole subject is class balance. And if you have several specs and classes that just outperform because of a combination of interrupts, stuns, DPS, utility, like a fucking rogue has, right? Then that's a balance issue. I don't understand. One of the ways they can try to overcome perception is through non-throughput solutions like wanting an enraged dispel for raging weeks. God, there's some weak answers, let me tell you. There's some weak shit. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, go look at Raider IO and look at what classes and specs are being done in all the keys in the entire world. There is definitely a big ass difference between certain specs and others. Can the worst spec in the game DPS wise do a plus 20? Absolutely. But no one's going to want to bring that person. It's not because we tell you not to bring them. It's because they're just inferior from a DPS standpoint. It's numbers, it's stats, it's metrics. Like, I don't know if this encounter designer is oblivious to it, but we have access to the information to see who's good and who's bad and who's performing and who's not. We have that info. I'm not sure if he has it, but we have it. Some classes are not just slightly better, but significantly better, and their failure to acknowledge that is disappointing. Agreed, completely. Unique buffs like Bloodlust have been a part of the class identity for pretty much the entire history of the game, and they might be a reason to bring someone that might not otherwise be bought, but if the meta class already has it, that can be a challenge. They're trying to be mindful of that and make sure that group compositions don't feel overly restrictive, and that's part of while evokers have Bloodlust and paladins have battle res. Yeah, but evokers are the reasons that resto shamans don't get brought into a Mythic Plus as much anymore, right? Because evokers have insane throughput, and they have lust, and they do 10 times more damage than a resto shaman does. I mean, evoker preservation healers basically put resto shamans in the poorhouse. You know what I'm saying? When you go to a Hertz to rent a car, and you know, and then the cheapest car you could possibly find that you kind of need for a tight situation is a $20 a day, 10 cents a mile, hoopty, you know, Pinto in the back of the lot. That's the resto shaman. Yeah, resto shamans get taken on Tuesday morning with 3 hours left until the reset, and there's like nobody else queuing for keys anymore. But sure, yeah, whatever. Really gonna dunk on a resto shaman like that? Hey, I like resto shamans. I bring them to my dungeons. I like them. Dungeon balance. They try real hard to avoid making dungeons more difficult during a season. If they have to, they'll try to do it early in the season and make very targeted changes. Okay. Hi. Knock, knock, knock. Ruby Life Pools would like to talk to you for a second. They have a baseline for dungeon difficulty, and then they try to make the dungeons as close to that as possible. If a dungeon is below that, they feel okay with that, but something like Junkyard, where you get 3 to 4 key levels, is a little too extreme. If a dungeon is above that difficulty, they'll look to make some adjustments. Oh, the comment should be juicy. Warrior Bloodlust needs to happen. The only class that makes sense to have Bloodlust. I mean, technically, from a lore standpoint, it does make sense, yeah. You know? But the resto shaman can heal decently. Bad thing is, it's all Riptide. The fact that they're really happy, that they're happy with Thundering just really says it all. Absolutely depressing. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think we came up with so many reasons in the past as to why it's like really just not good. You know, like, I don't know. I think they needed more time during beta to reiterate it, and they just didn't do it.